Hello everyone. Today I'm going to share with you some reflections on my academic existence. It is said that you have to live your life in the forward direction and you can only understand it in the backward direction. So, what have I understood about the research cultures of academia? From a psychological point of view, there are two types of academics, namely the pioneers and the transcendentalists. The pioneers are the trailblazers of humanity. For them, the world of the mind is one vast uninhabited landscape, and they make intellectual civilization possible by domesticating this wilderness. They give us a point of departure and occasionally also indicate the point of arrival. The transcendentalists are the map makers of humanity. For them, the world of the mind needs stable compass points and readable road maps. Once a valley has been explored, you need to build a highway. Once a river has been traversed, you need to set up a bridge. And once a forest has been cleared, you may try to establish a village. In today's research cultures, there is immense pressure to set up shop as a pioneer. These cultures are part of global financial structures where funding crucially depends on establishing claims of novelty with a ruthless individualism. Unless you can demonstrate that everybody else is wrong, or even better, plainly stupid, your article or monograph will not be published on these terrains of cognitive Darwinism where minds are read in tooth and claw. Thus, it is not surprising that so-called academic debates are often more semantic than substantive. That is, a debate not over what a word means in a particular real-world context, but over which type of word is used. Publications are saturated with militant idioms such as demolish, dismantle, and destroy. An impartial spectator from Mars might conclude that academic life is physical violence carried out by other means. To put the point theologically, academia is the language game of polytheism where people start worshipping the many signifiers because they suspect or they fear that regarding the signified, there may not be anything completely new to be said. I have seen luminous minds and capacious hearts become paralyzed by the false gospel which declares that even before one writes the first sentence, one should answer the question, what is my original contribution? From what I've said so far, you can perhaps guess that I am not, temperamentally speaking, a pioneer. However, I am not opposed in any way to the temples of pioneering scholarship. Indeed, such scholarship is the very life-breath of my academic endeavors. Without access to it, I would never have reached where I am today on an academic trajectory. At the same time, I am perfectly content to live, move, and have my being in the shadow of great scholars of Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. Around 40% of my publications are in the field of Hindu-Christian comparative theology, and another 50% address different aspects of Hindu philosophical theology. This entire mass, around 90%, is nothing but a series of extended footnotes on a short phrase I read in 1998 in an article written by my PhD supervisor. Here, he writes that according to Hindu religious visions, between God and the world, there is an entitative continuum. Given that I am not psychologically capable of wayfaring on pioneering pathways, until around 5 years ago, I would occasionally be afflicted by what is called imposter syndrome. A colleague at the Faculty of Divinity, who is one of the most profound scholars of Islam, said in a somewhat different context, our true impact factor is eschatological. That is, in some afterlife condition, whatever that condition turns out to be, we will get to know what our contribution was. At a single stroke, that meditative remark dispelled all my academic anxiety. Someday, hopefully, I shall get to know as I am known. In the meantime, I am content to live in a cloud of unknowing. Having said all that, here are 4 concluding points. First, let me admit that I have painted a slightly romanticized picture of the academic matrix. If you are temperamentally a transcendentalist, you may find it very difficult to get a job. As I have noted, the academic kingdom is ruled and administered by pioneers. To repeat, I have no personal quarrel with pioneers. I gratefully receive and read all their scholarship. Without them, I can do nothing. But if you get to know me, you will soon find out that I am a recluse. You may be aware that Sherlock Holmes has a brother called Mycroft Holmes. In my self-understanding, I am the academic iteration of Mycroft. One of the greatest joys of my life is that I am surrounded by many Sherlocks. Unto each one of them, I try my best to be their Mycroft, relative to their methodological style, sociocultural location, and existential trajectory. Notwithstanding all these complexities, I have somehow managed to survive academia because I have had kind supervisors who have vouched for me. They must have written something along these lines in their letters of reference. He may not have much to say to you, but he will get the job done. Second, if you yourself happen to be a temperamental transcendentalist, I hope you will take some consolation in my words. I mean to say, look at me. You do not walk alone. If I have managed to survive academia without quite knowing what my original contribution is, how bad or how difficult can it be? I may never have a positive thesis to proclaim to the world, but if you do, I will help you to refine and reinforce it. Third, nothing I have said so far rules out the possibility that someone may become a pioneer and a transcendentalist at the same time. To use the language of Islamic theology, such a possibility is indeed actualized in the Al-Insan Al-Kamil, that is the perfect human being. What can I say? I confess that I am not the perfect human being. The fourth point is the most significant one, because it constitutes the very heart of the reason why I am an academic. What is the fire that steadily burns away within my heart? For various complex reasons that I will not discuss today, my deep allegiance is not to the academy, but to my spiritual master, who is a 13th century Roman Catholic saint. He has moved me in many ways, and I have tried to conform to him, albeit with very limited success. Mea culpa, my fault. Because when you are in Rome, you must do as the Romans do. I methodically play the language game of academia according to its own rules, but only because my serious play is my life's ongoing offering to this saint. I do not mean to suggest, however, that academic life presupposes or requires some type of spiritualism. My own religious consciousness is highly heterodox, even heretical, from the Vatican's point of view. Be that as it may, in the luminous shadow of my spiritual master, I have taken my academic vocation to mean the enterprise of reducing human suffering by writing as lucidly, concisely, and precisely as possible. Ignorance too is a form of suffering, cognitive suffering. I publish with the hope that someday people struggling to understand some socio-religious or socio-political dimension of Hinduism will read what I have written and say, today my cognitive suffering has been reduced. Over the last 2 decades, many people have asked me, how do you keep on working day after day, month after month, year after year? And I have always replied by recalibrating some words of the Bhagavad Gita, that just as I have tried to see action in inaction, I have also tried to see inaction in action. In other words, when love is the dynamic motor of one's academic existence, then arduous labor becomes supreme leisure. So the really significant question is not how extensive is your bibliography, but how deep is your love. Without love, a bibliography is merely a collection of interesting information, but when a bibliography becomes merely a footnote to love, one does not have to work at all, even if one is working away all the time. I exist, and yet I do not. That is the great mystery of our human existence.